Who needs Hollywood movies when you have got real-life police chases that are nothing short of action-packed thrillers? I am talking about suspects hanging onto cars to vehicles flipping over twice in high-speed pursuits. Sit back, grab your snacks, and get ready, because we are about to dive into a world where cops are as smart as they come and stop suspects in some seriously cool ways.
Suspects into custody. Police say the dangerous duo, barely old enough to drive.
Without further delay, let's jump into the heart-pounding world of police chases. Number 1, pit maneuvers. Let's kick off with the classic PIT, precision immobilization technique, maneuver. It's a driving move used by cops to bring fleeing suspect vehicles to a stop by spinning them out of control. The cops chasing down the suspect position their cars at an angle beside the suspect's vehicle. Then, with precision timing, they make a sudden sharp turn into the suspect's car at the rear axle, causing it to lose traction and spin. Now, there's no shortage of wild pity maneuver footage out there, but let me share a couple of interesting ones. First up, we've got the case of 21-year-old Adam Crosby and his 30-year-old passenger, Samantha Simpson. Crosby bolted from a traffic stop after the car was linked to some serious meth trafficking. Troopers caught sight of the car, tearing down the road, weaving through traffic like a maniac. That's when they decided to bust out the PIT maneuver. Crosby's ride ended up doing a full 360 spin and landing in the median, where they quickly threw their hands up out of the window in surrender. Then, there's the tale of a black Chevy Tahoe spotted cruising down US Highway 65 with tags that had expired 6 months back. A trooper tried to pull it over for a routine stop, but when the driver hit the gas, it turned into a full-blown high-speed chase. Another trooper joined the pursuit, and when the time was right, they went for the pit maneuver. With precision and caution, they executed the move, sending the suspect's vehicle careening into a roadside ditch where it flipped not once but twice before coming to a stop. Turns out the driver, John Jones, had 2 warrants. And as for the passenger, Justin Hurd, he faced no charges, claiming he wanted out during the chase, but Jones wasn't letting him. Just goes to show, when it comes to taking down bad guys on the road, sometimes you have to spin them right around to stop them in their tracks. Number 2, spike strip. When a driver's too fast and too slick for the cops to pull off a pit maneuver, what's the next move? Need for Speed fans might have a guess. The spike strips. They come in all shapes and sizes, but generally packed with upright metal nails. They all have one job: to shred the tires of the suspect's vehicle, deflating them and sending them spinning out of control. Police units up ahead on the road lay down these metal spiked belts, or sometimes they toss them out as the suspect car approaches. Now, let me hit you with a wild spike strip story from January 29, 2022. Trooper Corporal Hubbard spots a black Ford Mustang tearing down Interstate 40 near the 275-mile marker in Arkansas. He pulls the car over, thinking it's just a routine traffic stop. But things take a turn when he runs a check and finds out the driver, Terry Lee Bequette, has some felony parole warrants out of Missouri and is considered armed and dangerous. When Hubbard returned to the suspect's car and asked him to exit, Bequette instead started to argue, insisting on calling his parole officer. When Hubbard remained determined to arrest him, the suspect fled, hitting speed over 100 miles per hour. He then pulls a slick move, veering onto the shoulder, making a U-turn, and then going the wrong way on the road before getting onto eastbound road from westbound. Thankfully, 2 quick-thinking truck drivers blocked traffic for Hubbard to keep up the chase. At one point, the suspect even traveled directly toward the patrol unit, and Hubbard attempted a pit maneuver but failed. Then, random stuff started being thrown out of the passenger side of the car to distract the trooper, but Hubbard remained in pursuit. Finally, the suspect ends up on a road where another officer, Steve Roberts, lays down a spike strip and waits for Bequette to roll over it. Roberts informed Hubbard about the spike strip, and Hubbard slowed down to ensure he didn't run over it. And bam! It works like a charm. Bequette made a right turn, but it wasn't long before the shredded tires caused Bequette to end up in a ditch. There, he began to flee on foot, holding a pistol in one hand and a handgun in the other. Even after all that, Bequette manages to give the cops the slip for a while, disappearing into the woods. But after a 5-hour search, they finally track him down and slap the cuffs on him. Now, that's an action-packed chase with the spike strips stealing the show. Number 3. Stop sticks. On June 20, 2023, the call came in about a guy driving like a maniac, maybe even firing shots. Otero County deputies tracked down Sanchez on Highway 50, and the chase was on. Colorado State Patrol officers joined in, and Sanchez's luck ran out when troopers executed a successful pity maneuver. But hold up, this story isn't about that pity maneuver.
Don't move! Don't move!
So they got Sanchez cuffed, thinking the chase was over, but this was just the start. As they were searching his car, they found something unexpected: a handgun. And while they were distracted, Sanchez managed to slip his cuffed hands under his feet, wriggle through the open window cage, and hop into the driver's seat. He took off in the cop car, leaving everyone scratching their heads for a moment. Once they snapped out of it, the high-speed pursuit was back on. Sanchez was hauling, making it impossible for the cops to pit him again. The cops made attempts to disable the stolen car using spike strips, but Sanchez was aware of police tactics and skillfully dodged the spike strips. With reports of multiple crashes and attempted head-on collisions with himself and other vehicles, they couldn't let him roam free. Sanchez kept changing lanes to get on the opposite lane of the parked cop cars he was encountering, but one trooper outsmarted him. After parking his car, he got to the opposite side of the road and waited with stop sticks as Sanchez zoomed by. Sneaking up on the road in an instant, Sanchez couldn't dodge, and after he hit the sticks, he lost control and slammed into the side of a parked semi-truck at high speed. The crash spun the car Sanchez was in, crushing the entire front end before it caught fire. By the impact, you can tell the speed at which Sanchez crashed, but he was still alive when removed from the smoking vehicle and was transported to the hospital, where he later died. I mean, I don't know if he was on a death mission or what, but to even think he could have gotten away from this stunt was just plainly stupid, and one adrenaline-fueled stupid decision cost him his life. Number 4. Outlaw teenagers and Grappler. No doubt, pit maneuvers are pretty cool to watch, but they can be risky for both cops and the public, and we have seen fatalities caused by spike strips and stop sticks. That's where the Grappler comes in handy. It's a safer and more efficient tool used by cops to stop fleeing vehicles. Instead of dramatic car spins, you have got a vehicle-mounted nylon net. With just a push of a button, the net is deployed as the police car gets close enough to the suspect's vehicle. When the suspect vehicle drives over the Grappler, the tire gets entangled in the netting material, which effectively wraps around the wheel, immobilizing the car. This technology is still relatively new, and the police all over the world haven't fully embraced it yet. But there have been some successful stops made using it. Take June 10, 2023, for example.
Suspects into custody. Police say the dangerous duo, barely old enough to drive, are behind an armed carjacking.
Arizona troopers and the Street Racing Task Force were dealing with a car fleeing after hitting a pedestrian during a takeover at a Mesa intersection. Without wasting time, the police located the vehicle. Before the reckless drivers even realized they were being chased, bam! One of the police cars deployed the Grappler, snaring the rear tire of the suspect's vehicle and bringing it to a safe stop. Out stepped two 17-year-olds who wisely followed the orders and were detained without incident. Though in this case, teenagers being unaware of the police in pursuit let the cops stop them before it turned into a high-speed chase. In another incident, just a few months later, on December 26, 2023, a pair of carjacking teenagers, the same age as those street racers, were fleeing from the cops in a yellow Camaro they stole from the owner at gunpoint. Things got dicey when they lost control and collided with a fence, leaving the rear bumper of the car dangling. But before any more devastating crashes could happen, the Grappler swooped in and ended the pursuit in a controlled manner. The teens surrendered quickly and were sent off to the Juvenile Assessment Center, hopefully learning a valuable lesson in the process. Number 5. Through Fields. March 30, 2022, Trooper Blaine Middlecoff spots this black 200 Chrysler zooming at a cool 90 miles per hour in a 75 zone. Middlecoff decides to play it cool, pulling over on the shoulder and waiting for the car to pass. Once he's behind it and activates his lights, things start getting wild. The suspect starts driving erratically, hitting speeds over 100 miles per hour. Now, the car is playing hide and seek, ducking out of sight a couple of times. But Middlecoff isn't giving up. After dodging a few semi-trucks, he decides to take an exit. Maybe the suspect thinks he's some kind of drifting king, but reality hits hard when he almost loses control, making a sharp turn onto State Highway 158. And then, bam! He totally loses it, trying to hit the Interstate 55 north on ramp. He takes a tumble into a ditch, but bounces right back onto the road. This gave the trooper enough time to close up on the gap and perform a pit maneuver, sending the suspect's car onto the left side of the road. But this guy is not giving up yet. He quickly regained control, and now we are off-roading too. Middlecoff shows this suspect he is not backing down, even if it means chasing him off a cliff. But if you think you have seen enough, wait and watch. After the chase in the grassy area between Interstate 55 and Highway 158, when the suspect re-enters the roadway, it hits the dividing island, causing the car to catch some air, and the trooper's patrol unit does the same. Once they are back on solid ground, the suspect realizes that he is no match for this cop's driving skills and decides to stop fleeing. He exits the car with his hands up in the air. And what does the trooper find in his car? A bag of suspected marijuana and a handgun. Not a good look, kid. But the teenager didn't have any active warrants or previous convictions, which made the trooper ask him why he was running if he only had this on him. The teen replies that he was scared and that running from the cop was fun. Number 6. K9. When it comes to stopping a suspect with a gun aimed at cops, there's one team you don't want to mess with. The K9 unit. These Grand Prairie police officers managed to corner the suspect in a driveway. He's got that classic gun-toting stance, ready to make trouble. But instead of resorting to deadly force, one smart officer lets his K9 partner take the lead. That furry hero clamps down on the suspect's arm, and what do you know? Turns out the suspect didn't even have a real gun. It was just a flashlight. Looks like he was trying to trick the officers, or maybe even attempting suicide by cop. But thanks to the cool-headed officer and his trusty K9, they defused the situation before things got out of hand. Another day saved, courtesy of our four-legged crime fighters. Number 7. Rental U-Haul. On March 14, 2022, Trooper Surrett gets word to keep an eye out for a white Chevrolet Silverado U-Haul rental truck. And just moments later, he spots the truck cruising past him near Highway 265. Surrett wastes no time, making the turn and trailing the truck. He contacts dispatch and makes sure it is the same one that bolted from a traffic stop in Springdale, and it was. He shares his location and calls for back, and just when another patrol unit joins him, he activates the lights. And you probably guessed it, instead of pulling over, this guy hits the gas even harder. Disobeying 2 stop signs and zooming through intersections, all while pushing speeds over 75 miles per hour in a 35 zone. With the safety of the public in mind, Surratt decides it's about time he executes the pity maneuver. And let me tell you, this wasn't your run-of-the-mill pit. This was a thing of beauty. As the suspect makes a right turn at an intersection, Surratt slides up alongside him, bumping his bumper against the truck's rear fender just behind the tire. Then, he guns it, sending both vehicles spinning a full 180 before slamming into a wall. Talk about a perfect execution. Trapped between a patrol car and a tree, the suspect's not going anywhere fast. Surratt, with a gun drawn, orders him out of the truck. But this guy's still refusing to obey commands, so Surratt gives him a little tap with the side of his gun barrel to get his attention. The suspect finally hops out and tries to make a run for it, but seriously, did he really think he could outrun the trooper with that lousy attempt? Surratt goes full WWE mode, grabs the suspect from behind, and slams him down on the ground. A perfect pit maneuver and a perfect takedown to match. Number 8, Hang On. January 27, 2024, a concerned friend called 911 to alert authorities that a man was allegedly attempting to kill a woman and her daughter. Lathrop police wasted no time and rushed to Shadywood Avenue, finding the distressed victims who described the suspect as psychotic. Officers attempted to approach the suspect, 40-year-old Juan Valdez, who was out on parole, but he wasn't in the mood to chat. Instead, he hopped into his gold Nissan, kicking off one wild, high-speed chase that you wouldn't believe. At first, they were navigating through slow traffic zones, and Valdez even stopped his car to reason with the officers. But despite their orders to turn off his vehicle, Valdez wasn't feeling cooperative and hit the gas once more. As he exited the neighborhood onto Roth Road, Valdez decided to go the wrong way before attempting a U-turn. But the officers weren't having it, maneuvering over the curb and slamming into his car. Even after colliding with another police car, Valdez managed to evade capture, speeding onto southbound Interstate 5. But due to damage from those collisions with police cars, one of the rear wheels comes off Valdez's car, making him pull over. Even before his car could fully stop, he hops out and tries to carjack a parked blue car. However, the occupant had locked the doors, and as the car tried to speed down the highway, Valdez latched himself onto the driver's door and continued to cling to it. When the car stops, Valdez tries to get in from the passenger door in one last attempt, but it's also locked. He starts banging on the door when the police warn him to stop. He refuses to listen, and then police open fire, shooting him. Valdez was subsequently taken to San Joaquin General Hospital for treatment before being taken into the San Joaquin County Jail on 5 criminal counts. And there you have it, folks, a reminder to always keep your car doors locked once you are inside. You never know what craziness might come knocking. Number 9. Skating Escapee.
Mira, me acaban de robar una troca. Ahorita se la acaban de llevar.
¿Usted miró cuando se la llevaron o nomás no la encuentra?
Sometimes you don't need pro driving skills or high-tech gadgets to stop a fleeing suspect. Sometimes a little push might just do the trick. Sounds strange? Well, just wait until you see this stop by the cops. On February 13, 2023, Southwest Division patrol officers responded to a call at 6 in the morning reporting a stolen truck, complete with a big dumping trailer attached to it. The officers quickly located the stolen vehicle in the vicinity thanks to that hard-to-miss trailer. Behind the wheel was one occupant, later identified as Pedro Villalobos, and the police pursuit began. The suspect was driving erratically through the neighborhood, but luckily, being early in the morning, There weren't too many people around. The trailer attached to the stolen truck even clips a parked vehicle. But before the chase on the vehicle can go on for too long, the suspect makes an eastbound turn onto 42nd Street from Flower Street and loses control of the truck, swerving to a stop in the middle of the intersection surrounded by cops. But here's where things take a hilarious turn. The suspect jumps out of the car and tries to flee on a skateboard. I mean, seriously, does he really think he can sway his way out of this chaos? One of the officers, caught off guard by the sight of the suspect on a skateboard, gets confused himself. I bet this was his first time witnessing something like this. But he quickly springs into action, attempting to grab the suspect. He only manages to make partial contact, but it's enough to throw the suspect off balance and send him tumbling to the ground. Efficiency-wise, it's probably the worst attempt at fleeing ever, but in terms of style, a solid 10 out of 10. Number 10, Racing Birthday Boy. On July 12, 2023, two Tesla drivers were reportedly racing each other like they were in a Fast and Furious movie. These speedsters didn't go unnoticed for long, as local law enforcement quickly caught wind of their antics. Trooper Collins got the heads up about the impending pursuit on Interstate 40 and wasted no time catching up with the racers. One of the Teslas suddenly took an exit, but the trooper couldn't keep up with that because of a concrete wall blocking his path. He ended up sticking close to the other Tesla, which was passing by on the left. That's when Trooper Collins got some backup from Tactical Firearms Commander Officer. The suspect weaved through lanes, speeding through stopped traffic. And just when you thought things couldn't get crazier, the Tesla ran over spike strips laid out by the West Memphis Police Department. Trooper Collins skillfully dodged the spikes and closed the gap with the Tesla. After a couple of failed pity maneuver attempts, the trooper finally managed to spin the Tesla out of control. It did a full 360 spin, regained composure for a moment, but then spun again and crashed into the trooper's patrol unit, sending it into the guardrail. But the suspects still did not give up. They again tried to drive off, but the TFC officer in the SUV, which was behind the trooper, T-boned the Tesla, bringing the chase to an abrupt end. With nowhere to run, the suspects surrendered without a fight. Upon searching the vehicle, cops found a small amount of marijuana and digital scales. It turns out the driver had his cousin rent the Tesla from the Turo app so he could travel to Dallas for his birthday bash. Number 11, Takedown.
Okay. Dude, put it down! Put it down!
Walton County's lieutenant rolls up to a house in response to a domestic violence call. He spots this guy outside, who was later identified as 40-year-old Bradley, and tells him to leave. But out of nowhere, Bradley whips out a .04 caliber rifle from the back of his SUV. Quick as lightning, Lieutenant Mark draws his gun. But Bradley, with his rifle up in the air, ain't paying attention to Hess's repeated orders to drop it. It's like he is prompting the cop to shoot him. Shouting right in the officer's face, Bradley was ready to take a bullet. But Lieutenant Hess stays ice cold, dead set on avoiding bloodshed. Then, by some stroke of luck, Bradley fumbles and drops his weapon. Hess doesn't miss a beat. He charges in like a bolt, knocking Bradley off his feet, while another officer gets into action and retrieves the gun. Meanwhile, Hess has Bradley in a tight chokehold. I mean, come on, isn't this one of the coolest cop takedowns you have ever seen? Also, did you guys catch that lady trying to hold the gun for the officer? What was she thinking? Number 12, Sidelined. December 16, 2023, Trooper Tyler Nelson was just minding his business in the median, carrying out his routine duties, when he spotted a black Chrysler 200 zooming by. Not only did the car fail to use its blinkers for a massive lane change, but it also decided to evade Trooper Nelson's attempt to pull it over. Quickly notifying dispatch that the car was on the run, Trooper Nelson was soon joined by Sergeant Roy Mooney in the pursuit. As the suspects tried to outrun the cops, they took the chase onto the shoulder of the road, to overtake the relatively slow cars on the highway. Doesn't it just boil your blood seeing these people hogging the left lane during a high-speed chase and refusing to get out of the way? Anyway, as the suspects made their way to the Arkansas Bridge, Corporal Matt Price joined the pursuit and executed a flawless tactical vehicle intervention by sideswiping the suspect's car, forcing it to abruptly jam to a stop. Turns out, these suspects, identified as Anthony Brownotter, Jasmine Page, and Joshua Shepard, were on the run because they were in possession of illegal drugs, some of which they also threw out during the chase. What a mess! That's a wrap on those suspects going crazy, sparking some action-packed chases that ended with some incredible stops by the cops. These criminals, with their reckless driving, not only put the lives of the cops chasing them in danger, but also the lives of the innocent public on the road. So doesn't it feel good, watching them get served with justice? Tell me in the comments which one of these clips you found most cool. Oh, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more videos just like this one coming your way. Until then, goodbye.